Namaste. Good morning to each one of you. Good day. This is a series from the Do, and we are here to talk to Mr. Rajdev Bhattacharya. Now, Mr. Rajdev Bhattacharya does not need much of an introduction. Everyone knows about him. He is a veteran in the travel. But taking a minute or so, I would like to just recap on what it is to people who don't know about him in general, or people who just know his name and want to know exactly what he has done and where he is. So currently Rajdev is a general manager with Global Travel and Hospitality Services, and he also handles WAY2GO, the digital operation and the platform for WIPRO. And so Rajdev has been in industry for almost 2 decades and plus. So he has done his airlines, and he's been with the agency, TMCs. He has been with as an eminent speaker. So with a small ado, I would like to hand over to Rajdev. Thank you so much for joining us here today. We're looking forward to hear from you. What is it that the travel industry can look forward in the difficult times like this? And also from your experiences in the past, what is it that you could add value to the people who are coming into this field?
Thank you so much, and good morning and good afternoon to everybody. If I have to look back, the first thing comes to my mind is my own life, and I relay it back. What do I see? You know what I see? I see 7 cities, 3 companies, 11 portfolios, and 1 industry. So a brief, if I go back, I started way back in '94, right after my college in St. Xavier's, Calcutta. I started off with Jet Airways. The first stint was with the airport operations. Then I moved into a bit of cargo, then started moving cities, changing my roles into sales, and then got into hardcore sales. And by the time I spent so much time with Jet Airways and my aviation industry, it was about good 16 years where I worked in operations, sales, a little bit of revenue management, and all of that. And I kind of moved on from there as the area manager of West India. So that was my stint with Jet Airways. Then coming to Thomas Cook was very interesting. I was heading business for all the divisions at that point of time. This was a portfolio which was an interesting portfolio. I was heading the West India and East India P&Ls for corporate travel, foreign exchange, leisure outbound, MICE. And it was like a very interesting portfolio for 3 years before I joined WIPRO and moved on to the beautiful city of Bangalore. Now it's been it's been about 7 years now. And I've been first, taking care of WIPRO's global travel and hospitality, which by itself is spread across about 172 countries. And then slowly moved into travel technology, and where I have a joint portfolio now. Also, I head the business of WAY2GO, which is a B2B digital platform for the travel agents and corporates.
That was very informative. We would like to ask you a few of the experiences in a format questions. What is it that each of your traveler benefits when they deal with people like you and the organizations? So we just wanted to know, do you think it's very important to have traveler informed, engaged, and empowered to handle crisis during the travel? And if yes, what means of devices are recommended based on your experience would you suggest to them?
See, I think, specifically, at the time when we are talking today, we are in the middle of COVID, and it's May, and we are just about getting our flights back. And so this is a very abnormal situation that we have seen. But overall, if I see, one is over the years, the trend has changed in the communication between, in a corporate travel scenario like what we have. I think the communication everybody would say communication is important, but sometimes, we need to be careful of not over-communicating also, because it has got a spam effect. Everybody is a frequent flyer member, everybody is with the members with the hotel. So as and when, the process is to make things simpler for them, so that they can get a B2C experience in a B2B environment, and don't make it difficult that this approvals go through that loop and this loop, and that breaks the experience. So I think the first and foremost, we need to sort of make sure as a travel managers and as the role that we play, then make it easy for them, make it easy for the traveler to raise a request and get his tickets. Don't make that too much complicated. As far as communication is concerned, yes, the communication should be it should not be continuous. It irritates people at this point of time. I think the phase is different and everybody is very well informed. I'll give you an example of tomorrow, yesterday, that, when the flights were on and I was like watching TV and I was trying to get information from the airlines about the schedules and the flights and what's going to happen, what's going to be the fare. But before I could do that, a passenger of mine called me and said the flights are open for sale. So they're that informed. Even the airlines personals were not being able to give me the schedule, but it was out in the net, it was out in the news. So it's a very difficult situation where it's never going to be the same again, where the passengers are not going to be informed. So communication is key, but communication comes from many a side, so we need to be careful not to over communicate. I think the thumb rule is to be proactive. But the most important part is, if there is a disruption, the communication should be proactive and not something that, he will be struggling to get. So I think these are the 4-5 things that we need to ensure so that, the communication and the customer service and the general comfort of the passengers are kept.
So with keeping this, continuing on the same thing that you've said, is there anything like a particular tool or something or an app that the traveler uses which would keep them updated on the information, especially if the travel managers are not able to communicate in mass because large organizations have many people at the same time? So do you suggest or do you think they should be well aware of few of these things?
I think first of all, the business traveler is quite educated today, and he knows, where to get what. I have seldom seen a person that, who does not know what he needs to do. But then that's something which, I face it because of the nature of the industry that we are in. But that's given a point that, there has been a lot of change. Over communication is not something that we should do. Secondly, it's a simple apps. I mean, you have apps from the GDS, you have apps from the B2C apps where you can download and see the flight timing. And it is better to be, my advice to all the passengers is that it's better to be self-sufficient, because there are enough and more apps in the market to sort of help you when you're traveling, to at least to know where the flight's on time, at least to know what the weather is going to be. And you don't need anybody else to sort of push that information to you, because otherwise people will not know how much information.
True. We agree. Otherwise it's overflood. There are times currently in the current situation, the moment I see the word COVID, my mind blocks and said, okay, I don't want to look into this kind. I think what you say is true. So I'd like to ask you, do you feel that data mining and artificial intelligence will decide and drive and impact a lot of travelers' choices? And if and how would that impact on the corporate earnings and policies?
See, it is not only travel. I think the data-driven buying is something which we are all used to it now. The social media is using it for a very long time. I mean, if you want to buy a vacuum cleaner and you log in to any page with your Facebook account, after 3 days, you will see only vacuum cleaner ads in your Facebook. Or similarly for the YouTube, if you go and search the videos that you like, and then your homepage will be converted to something of your personal choice. So the mindset of a passenger, a mindset of a buyer at this point of time is being kind of converted into that. So that's one. So it's no reason for me to believe that if he buys his vacuum cleaner or his, in fact, larger things that in fact, it can be a car, it can be anything that he's buying through the digital means, and he's getting recommendations. The war is there. The war is changed from somebody. And I keep talking about this with my travel agent friends also. The war is no more that, somebody will walk into your agency and then you convert him. It is definitely, it's become much more advanced than that. We all know it is on the digital platforms. We all know it is based on the search engine optimization. We all know it is based on his personal preference. You need to get into that kind of stuff. And I think most of them have made the changes and adapted the changes. So going forward, it's going to be more and more towards that, lesser and less towards personally somebody coming and calling you. That's one. Number two is it works both ways. From the traveler, it is clear that he needs his choices. He makes his choices based on his personal preferences. And for the buyer and the seller, he needs to ensure that he has his customers on a digital platform, and he has enough and more gateways or enough and more blocks that the passenger cannot go away so easily. But if that's not there in the digital medium, then he will not be able to retain it. So it works both ways. So data important for both the buyer and seller, but how you use it is going to determine the success.
Totally agree with you, because there is enough data which has been picked up from each one of us as we are doing any touch point that we go today, the data is picking up. And going further, I think every booking that we're going to make, our data are going to be captured, because they need to keep a track where we are, what's happening and things, with the situations changing. So with that, we just wanted to move to the next thing. Today, with the current situation, a lot of vendors supporting you are also facing this kind of a challenging with no business. Business norms have changed. It is not like earlier where you had the luxury of demanding the price that you wanted. It is going to be in a very, very different kind of setup. Seeing this, what as a corporate would you do to help them to survive and come up, and at the same time protect your incremental savings that as you had budgeted for your corporate?
See, I will generally answer this. I will
not specific to any organization, but in general, because you have worked with a lot of organizations and there have been changes. So some suggestions.
My personal views is that let us not judge or try to predict the long-term predictions based on the judgment of people at this time of crisis. Okay, at this point of time, the crisis mindset is completely different, and let's not try to make long-term prediction based on current, because we'll go wrong. This is not the first crisis that we have come into, and I'm sure it is a matter of time, and the time may be a long time, but it is a matter of time that we will move on from there. So that's one. Number two is the demand. So how does any company do a contracting at this point of time? So let us understand the basis of a contracting is always been the data. I have given you 100 units of business, so I need X amount of pricing. That is being the basic context. But now we don't have that. I mean, now it is not going to be that I'm going to give you 100. I can give you 5. I can give you 50. So the contracting values are going to change now. It is definitely going to be this is the time where you will reap the benefit of having good partners, where it is contracting will be done for the next 1 or 2 years based on faith. Okay, it is not going to be based on data. So the human element definitely would come in, the trust factor would come in, and based on your past commitments and the person that you are or the organization that you have portrayed, there's a lot of contracting and negotiations which is going to happen, which is going to be a win-win for both the clients and the vendors. So the approach in my mind should be a win-win situation, because nobody would know how much business they would have to offer to the airlines and the hotels at this point of time, and the airlines and the hotels also will not be able to judge correctly that what is the basis of the targets or what is the basis of the thresholds that they are setting. So this is going to be a very faith-based RFPs, very faith-based contracting for the next 1 year, where both the parties should try and do a win-win situation, because this is the time to benefit. This is the time to benefit relationships. This is the time to weave relationships so that we both are in the same page and we support the partners in these difficult times so that we become stronger and take the next steps together so that we win together. And that's extremely important. Keeping the partners inside and keeping their interests, keeping our interests, putting a win-win is of great importance to me.
I would like to move on. What is a suggestion of a regular engaging communication, engaging strategy? Of course, you did mention at the beginning of the thing that you've been talking, but what is that specific message that as of today you would like to give to your team, like a BC, and what is the business continuation that you're looking into this? So that is something, if you could give it over to as few suggestions to the people.
See, again, any situation, we are all in it together. So it is not going to be any particular company. I think it's going to be generally. Number one is the communication to the team has to be twofolds. Okay, and I would do it this way. So the first fold is to sort of ensure that everybody understand what is the level of the crisis. Okay, and how much time it's going to take for us to get back. And what is it that is part one. And second one is, what is it that is required to be done to keep ourselves relevant? Those are very, very important questions. Because if we start falling in love with the old ways of working, in fact, if I start falling in love with the old way of my own working, that probably is not going to happen. As I told you, those 7 cities and 3 jobs and 11 portfolios have taught me a lesson. And the lesson is, it changes like a water. It will find its way, so better accept it as soon as possible. Second Second portion of it is that, while the business is going to come back in trickles, and then I see it coming back by April next year to at least to a certain degree of confidence and certain degree of comfort. We also need to ensure that we are not depending on one domain skill for our principal earning, which has completely changed. What has not happened in decades has happened over a few weeks. Now, if that is so, and that is the truth, I don't think one particular skill set is going to sort of, give us that 20 years more or 25 years more or whatever you want to work. I mean, depending on your age and specifically the youngsters, they definitely need to have a second string. They need to have a second string, which should be a domain of their choice. It can be airlines, it can be hotels, it can be the travel industry. And they have to also learn something extra, as in it can be a content writing, it can be coding, it can be anything of their choice which is not related to the same industry. So 2 to 3 skill set is going to be what it's going to take to survive the future. If you see today's paper also, you'll see it's there to take 2 courses. These are all set up for the future. Don't ignore it. Look at this carefully. The question you should be asking, that this is what I tell my team, the question you should be asking, 31st December 2020, when the world would say, cheers, today is May, what have you done to add the second string, and what would you toast yourself to? If you're putting about 2 hours in learning at this point of time, it is going to definitely give you rich dividends. So it's going to be a mix of the travel coming back, the domain expertise, the second string, all 3 together is going to make a very, very strong person in you. That's what my message is.
That's a very strong and a good message. Rajdev, thank you so much for taking your time and adding few values to us. And is there anything else that you would like to add as a final statement before we kind of call this to an end?
Yeah, see, again, I mean, at this point of time when we are doing this interaction and interview, we are in the middle of a lot of trouble. And that's, everybody says that. So my point is, my narrative of this crisis is, it's a little different from the others. The narrative is that if I look back 5 years, 2025, I should look back at 2020 and say, that's the year that made me more resilient, creative, and more strong. Whatever doesn't kill you is going to make you strong. Don't let a good crisis go to waste.
True.
Okay, don't let a good crisis go to waste. Add your second string at this point of time. You have got a wonderful opportunity. All of us have a wonderful opportunity to sort of ensure that in the next 6 months we are reskilled and we have a parallel skills. Don't let a good opportunity go to waste. Good crisis go to waste. So all the best to everybody, and hopefully we are coming back strong. The industry is a wonderful industry to be in. I only know this industry, as I said. I love this industry. Let's all pray and let's all hope that we come back with a bang.
Thank you. Thank you so much for adding it. With a namaste to you, we would like to take leave of you. And thank you. Thank you to the DOPE team for covering this. And there is a lot happening in the world. There's lots of confusion. Listen to people, the stalwarts of the industries. Go back to your mentors. Go back to your own self, introspect, and move on. And there is lots, like Rajdev has mentioned, there's a whole lot of opportunities for you, which we never had time earlier. We always complained that we didn't have time, we were not getting enough sleep. I think all of us have slept well for the last few months. We've also regained our energy. Now is the time to use our brains to see how can we encourage ourselves. And I think that was a very positive message. Thank you so much.